go because you know what I came here to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
Amir Khan has popped for Ostarine, a substance that is designed to produce the same effect in the body as testosterone. UCAD have banned him for 2 years. You know, we're hearing this over a year after the Kell Brook fight. Over a year. That was in February of 2022. Khan accepted he broke anti-doping rules, but said it was not intentional. An independent tribunal accepted the argument, ruling out deliberate or reckless conduct. But at the same time, they rejected his defense that Ostarine was transmitted by a tainted supplement or human contact. So which one is it? If it's not intentional, why are you banning him for 2 years? And if UCAD are saying it's not intentional, why would he lie about it could have been through a handshake or a contaminated supplement? Why would Khan lie? And it seems a bit excessive if it's not intentional to ban him for 2 years. UCAD are bragging now that this is a reminder they will diligently pursue anti-doping rule violations in order to protect a clean sport. Yeah, right. UCAD Chief Executive Jane Rumble said, strict liability means athletes are ultimately responsible for what they ingest and for the presence of any prohibited substance in a sample. Are they trying to make an example of him? I guess from Conor Benn's side of things, he's probably thinking if I go submit evidence and it goes pairs up, they're going to ban him for 2 to 4 years. I mean, the dossier he gave Mauricio arrived at the conclusion that the eggs are a plausible explanation, but nevertheless it's in his system. So that same dossier with the same finding as the WBC that cleared him would get him banned by UCAD because you have to accept liability, intentional or not. That's UCAD policy. So is this how Amir was taking all them clean shots from Kell Brook? Not that I suspected that he was on something, but shots were bouncing off this guy's head. And we all know he don't have the greatest whiskers. Brave as they come, but he don't have the greatest whiskers. Khan said he doesn't understand the ban because he's retired. He said he'll never cheat. It's not something he'd do. But then again, how do we know that?
Now I'm sitting in a courtroom all day. I claim I'm innocent, but that's what they all say.
We're as disappointed as anyone. We found out via social media this morning. And I can see why people think, oh, we must have known. But go to UCAD, go to the board, go to wherever. We have not even been notified. Never mind yesterday, never mind this morning. We found out from social media.
How is Ben Shalom promoting the event, finding out that there's dirty athletes in fights he's promoting via the media, social media? Same thing happened to Steffi Bull, who manages Jason Cunningham when he was knocked out by Zolane Tete.
We just found out, being tagged in a tweet a couple of days ago, the situation. So then obviously got straight onto board, straight onto Jason's promoters and just kind of trying to find out the situation. And
now let's stay with the Tete Cunningham fight. Here's old Frank Warren telling us, at this time, Queensbury, who promoted the show, has not been formally notified of any issue by UCAD, nor indeed by the British Boxing Board of Control, and therefore, without any substantiated information, are not able to comment further. So where did they find out? On social media as well, like Steffi Bull. Isn't that a bit sloppy? That promotion and boxers are only finding out their opponents are juiced up on social media. Robert Smith? Explain it. How the information is getting to the media before the promoters. How the information gets to the media before a boxer who's nearly killed by someone on Stanzalo. No, we didn't know. We didn't know.
So don't tell me about the morality. You don't care about the morality. Motherfucker literally got knocked out on the Frank Warren show. You don't care about that shit because you'd be talking about that. Y'all sitting here talking about a fight that didn't even happen. The morality.
Exactly.
The morality. The fight with Oscar and Conceição did happen. The fight with Tete and Cunningham did happen. Right. Why y'all stuck on a fight that didn't happen?
Let's get into this.
When a fighter fails a test, the promoter, the board, will be notified immediately. So why do you feel like you were not notified 12 months ago?
Please ask VADA, because that's what we'll be doing straight after this.
UCAD.
Please ask UCAD, sorry. And please ask the board.
Now, just like Frank Warren, Ben Shalom is claiming he didn't know nothing. And you heard what the interviewer said. He quoted the ruling. The fight you're promoting, the athletes get popped, you are informed straight away. So now we know, as soon as you pop You should be informed.
I did call Robert Smith straight away. I said, "Did you know about this?" And he said, "I found out yesterday." So what is going on?
Robert Smith found out yesterday. That's of today, which is Tuesday, which means Monday. So neither Robert Smith or Ben Shalom were informed. The board or the promoter weren't informed straight away. Why ain't heads rolling? Well, looks like your man, Robert Smith, has been lying.
You've got to pay attention to the wording of the email to fully understand the situation from the British Boxing Board of Control. Robert states that UK anti-doping do not divulge until final decision. He says that he found out late yesterday. However, this is a key word of his response to me. I heard there was a finding to be investigated, but until yesterday did not know the result of any hearing. Ben Shalom would not have known until published normal UK anti-doping protocol. So, as per correspondence with Robert Smith, the Secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control, the board were informed.
Robert Smith is a cockroach trying to use tricky wordplay to deceive Ben Shalom and deceive anyone who's listening. He told Ben Shalom he didn't hear anything until Monday, but what he really meant was he didn't know the result until Monday. He was informed that there was a hearing weeks or however much months back. He was aware of it, but now he's pretending like, oh, I just knew today. No, you knew the results today, but you knew there was a hearing. So the testing process starts with UCAD. Boxer gets popped. Is the boxer who gets popped the first person UCAD informed? Then who's next? The promoter? The British Boxing Board of Control? When do the manager of the clean fighter and the clean fighter get informed? After the fight or after the case is determined? How does the confidentiality clause work? Why is the dirty fighter's confidentiality more important than the clean fighter who has no idea that he's going in the ring with someone juiced up? Now, this is Peter McDonough, and he really sums up TalkSport and their fake concern over PEDs.
Okay, all right, let's leave that on there for a second. One thing I wanted to talk to you about was Conor Benn did turn up to his first show since everything sort of kicked off. He was at that show. He was approached by TalkSport and he declined to do an interview. Well, he basically pushed Gareth A. Davis out of the way or pushed the mic or whatever. What did you make of that?
Firstly, I'm not condemning if Conor Benn is guilty or if, like what people think of it or what people don't think of it. But if Gareth A. Davis would have come up to me like that, and let's talk about the comments he was making before he went and done that interview, like all over TalkSport and bits and pieces. He was turning around saying, well, I know it's wrong. He shouldn't be fighting Conor Benn, but we're still going to cover it. You're a hypocrite then, mate. You're a hypocrite. And if you'd have come up to me and put that microphone under my face, I'd have done more than push that microphone. I would have slapped you right round the face and I would have got a pair of scissors out and cut that long hair off.
I don't want to take too much of BBTV's vid. Peter McDonough said that Conor Benn is the hottest name in British boxing. And they're exploiting the PED story for views and hits. How are you going to say you're going to cover it after you're making all these condemnations, talking about the morality, it's a disgrace, and then you turn around and say you're going to cover the event? Really? Enough is enough now. Talking about Anthony Joshua should say something if he fights in Saudi Arabia about human rights violations. But we didn't hear nothing from him when Tyson Fury was doing WWE over there. Nothing at all. You're scum, bruh. You're scum. Go cover your Conor Benn event, take your accreditation and get your free drinks and food. And smile in everyone's face that you was dissing for the last how many months. And then go back to TalkSport and say it's immoral. It's a disgrace.
Yeah, it's a great shame. I mean, what I'm surprised at, how long ago was this test take place?
February last year, Frank.
I mean, what is that all about? They've kept that under the wraps, UCAD, for a year.
The blame has to be laid at the foot of the British Boxing Board of Control. And I think it was a lot of young kids who didn't understand this when I was explaining it. And I don't want to be condescending to you. And I told you, this is where the focus has to be. Whether Conor or Amir Khan are clean or dirty, it's the process what you have to look at here. Like, if the ruling says if somebody is popped, then the promoter is to be informed, then why is that not happening? And why do UCAD seem to be pushing the buck on the Triple BC and vice versa? There needs to be a press conference with UCAD and the British Boxing Board of Control where they list out whose duty it is to do what and who shouldn't be doing whatever. It needs to happen. But we can't rely on TalkSport to do that. Why is the information getting to the press before the promoters who are saying they didn't know anything? That's if that's true. Why is confidentiality more important than a boxer going in there with a dirty athlete? Too many whys. Sound like a Jada Kiss song.
Why is Jada Kiss as hard as it gets? Why is the industry designed to keep the artists in debt?
Now I think I've prepped your ears for what's about to come next. You're not going to get clarity on who it is to inform who of what. You're not going to get that. The board claimed they didn't know. Ben Shalom claims he didn't know. UCAD haven't said anything. But what's the truth? Brook and Khan was their biggest fight last year. Boxer. Now Kell Brook said he was shocked to hear it and he's angry. But with their biggest fight of the year looking like it's going to be in jeopardy, did someone deliberately look past informing the necessary parties? Because they didn't want to miss out on the massive night. One of the only pay-per-views they did last year. I know I bought it. Let's just address the Conor Benn situation. Because I'm trying to work some stuff out. Varda popped Conor twice for the Bbboc fight. So he failed 2 tests apparently. Well, I'm assuming Eddie went to the board straight away with the information that Conor popped for the first test. Just like he did on the second one. Now, the question is, how did we get to a second test if you failed one already? Are the board saying they didn't get this information? He didn't hide the information that Conor failed the second test. So I'm just going to assume he told the board the first time around as well. And if he didn't, why are not the board penalising him? Why are not heads rolling? If Ben Shalom is saying the board did not give him the information and Frank Warren is saying the same thing for their respective fights, why are not heads rolling? And if the board are saying UCAD are not giving us the information, why are heads not rolling at UCAD? What's going on? What, you just letting everyone get away with sloppy work between the promoters, UCAD and the board? What's going on here? Now let's look at the confidentiality. The confidentiality, if we do simple deduction, boxer gets popped. So UCAD is the first port of call. They pop the fighter. Who gets informed?
When a fighter fails a test, the promoter, the board, will be notified immediately.
The promoter and the board. Now Ben Shalom said if he had known, he would have stopped the fight. Eddie Hearn said, I can't do that. That's up to the board. So we need clarity on that. Can the promoter stop the fight or is it up to the board? So UCAD, they test, they pop, and then when the B sample either proves guilt or innocence, they penalise or not. So it has to be assumed in between the first A sample and the B sample is the period of confidentiality that Amir Khan would have had to prove his innocence. Frank Warren, with the Tete Cunningham case, he also said if he had known sooner, because Tete popped pre-fight, he would have stopped the fight from going ahead. That contradicts what Eddie Hearn said, that only the board can do that. One problem with that, with you stopping the fight going ahead, you would break confidentiality. In a lot of cases, that would almost certainly lead to a lawsuit. So are Frank and Ben waffling when they claim they would have pulled their respective fights? Are they just saying that to appease the media and the public? Can we believe Ben Shalom and Frank Warren that neither of them knew that they were promoting dirty fighters without their knowledge or their opponents' knowledge that they were up against someone juiced up? Can we believe them? What about the board? They claimed they only knew late that Khan popped. What if they knew earlier? Would they have stopped the fight and broke confidentiality? And if both the promoter and the board are claiming they're not getting the information straight away, why then are UCAD suppressing the information? It seems to me that from UCAD to promoter to the board, they keep passing the buck. And then when you're trying to pin down, well, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do that? It almost feels like they're trying to bamboozle the public. What is the protocol? When are you going to do a press conference and tell us in what time does UCAD give you the information and in what time do you inform the boxer who's the innocent party, his management, etc. And if you do get the information straight away, that's either the promoter or the board. What grounds do you have to break the confidentiality of the athlete trying to prove his innocence? These questions need answering. So, Tyson Fury popped on a separate card from Huey. I think Huey popped in Monaco. Tyson popped in the UK against Christian Hammer. So let me know this. Did neither Mick Hennessy, Frank Warren on the board know that Tyson Fury popped? Pre-fight both their world title fights. Tyson against Vladimir and Huey versus Joseph Parker. And it's Frank Warren and Mick Hennessy telling us that if they had known that Tyson Fury had popped for the Christian Hammer fight, which is approximately 10 months before he fought Vladimir Klitschko, they would have pulled the world title fight? Is that what they're saying? And is Mick Hennessy saying he would have pulled Huey's world title fight against Joseph Parker while Huey was under investigation? So Frank's saying he didn't know nothing about Tyson Fury until it went public? Is that what you're saying, Frank? And you didn't know about Tete until it went public either? Is that what you're saying, Frank? And you definitely would have pulled Tyson Fury's world title fight, wouldn't you? Let's throw the board in there too. You didn't know nothing about Huey or Tyson's positive tests until the media got it? Is that what you're saying? Because remember, you're supposed to get the information straight away. When did you get it? When did you get the information? I don't care who wants to answer, either promoter or the board of control. When did you get it? When did you get it? And what did you do with it? Pre-fight Klitschko, pre-fight Joseph Parker, or any of the other 5 or 6 fights that Huey had in the supposed retroactive ban. The retroactive ban which he fought all the way through. So by now we've established that it's a regular practice for the board to let a dirty athlete fight someone who's got no clue they're juiced up. So basically, it's just lucky that an athlete who is dirty and has been passed to fight because he has to be given the benefit of the doubt to prove his innocence hasn't hurt somebody. It's just lucky. How long are they going to keep doing that until someone gets hurt? Might be the end of boxing in Britain, I'm telling you. At least mainstream boxing would be driven underground. What really is the point of testing if pre-fight you get popped, but you're still allowed to go and fight? What's the point of testing? How is that protecting the boxer who didn't pop? What's going on? So all these promoters are spending out money on testing for the board to let a dirty fighter potentially maim and scar a clean fighter. Jason Cunningham needed 7 minutes medical aid to recover from his head bouncing off the canvas after getting knocked out by Zolane Tete. In his own words, he said he could have died. He said, "I'll have kids. I need answers of how this happened." And he's still signed to Frank Warren. Well, what choice does he have? What's he going to do? I'm just going to assume they don't pay the same type of persons in Fight Zone that they do at Queensbury. So basically, Tete pre-fight tested positive, went in the ring, violently knocked out Jason Cunningham. Frank Warren says he didn't know about this until December. The B sample proved that Tete was positive. The board hasn't yet changed the decision to a no contest for some reason. It still stands as a win for Zolane Tete. Why are they dragging their heels like that? So, confidentiality, if breached by the promoter or the board, could likely end them up in a legal situation. Appreciated. But a lot of B samples end up in the bin, not just in boxing. Because, how would it be sustainable? A large quota of boxers on mainstream or small hall cards getting popped. It's not financially sustainable. Khan popped post-fight. He popped post-fight, but Tete, he didn't. He popped pre-fight. And you have to wonder how much fighters go in the ring with people juiced up, whether pre-fight or post-fight. And that period of confidentiality and that B sample ends up in the fucking bin. Because promoters make money and boxers make money by putting on cards and fighting. And then you're going to say, well, why bother testing then if they're just going to throw the tests away? Well, if the likes of UCAD and VADA are in compliance with WADA, then they have to show a certain quota of how much people they're testing, how much people are popping, how much adverse findings that couldn't be determined, whether the athlete was guilty or not. tiny trace amounts may suggest that they didn't deliberately take something to get an advantage. Could have been contamination, etc. And if they're cleared withstanding a mole, there's no reason for you and I to ever hear about it. I read somewhere that Amir Khan didn't want positive tests reported. He wanted more time to prove his innocence. Well, how much more time did he want? The fight was in February 2022. It was post-fight. I don't know how much after the loss to Bbboc it was. But I can imagine a lot of fighters want to suppress the information. They want to hold on to that confidentiality for a little while longer. They'll be saying they're innocent. They want longer to prove their innocence. They might get solicitors involved. And like in Conor Benn's case, if the board feel the heat is on them because they haven't done certain things in a professional manner, they could use moles or they could just leak it to the press. And that way they could tell the fighter, well, I didn't break a confidentiality. Somebody put the story out there.
Just to be clear, as per the Guardian article here, there was a hearing in late January. First of all, were you aware of that hearing at all? No? Obviously
not aware of anything. UCAD's not informed me. Ben Sean's not informed me. No fuckers informed me. I were in Costa Coffee having a coffee, going through my Instagram where this breaking news. This is when I've heard it, when I've seen it in Costa. That's all I know.
You still want to tell me that we need to concentrate on Conor Benn and not the board? How many people now have heard this information, boxers, through social media? It's just unacceptable. That's Bbboc. Don't you hear what the boxers are saying? Look, here's Liam Smith. He wants to know why Khan's tests was kept quiet. They go in the ring. This is a sport where you can dead in that squared circle. Anyone I see just focusing on Conor Benn, when there's a way, way bigger picture, you're an idiot. It reminds me of what I was talking about when Bob Arum, and we can even go further back than Bob Arum, when Shelley Finkel and Deontay Wilder, or should I say Lou DiBella and Deontay Wilder, went to the zone to work out a deal so we could get the undisputed fight. They walked from the table from $100+ million deal that would have got them an undisputed fight with Anthony Joshua. They walked away from it. But because Eddie, who wasn't in the meeting, John Skipper took it over. Eddie said, okay, if they don't want to deal with me, I stay out. He stayed out of the meeting. And they still managed to flip it on Eddie and Joshua that the fight didn't happen. They've become polarizing figures for so much hate that people could just blatantly lie on them. Just like when the Fury-AJ fight collapsed in 2021 for Undisputed. Oh, Eddie was trying to sell the television rights, Bob Arum was saying. He messed it up. No, Eddie secured $150 million site fee. The fight could and should have went ahead. But because Eddie was so hated, some people chose to, yeah, Bob, it was Eddie. It was Eddie, and Frank Warren joined in. But what happened to them, to Fury, Arum and Warren? You pulled out of the Usyk fight. And this time, you didn't have a polarizing figure who you could dump all the liability on like Eddie Hearn. You had Usyk, Krujak, and Klimas. And you got buried. Public opinion buried you. And this time, now Amir Khan's just got popped. You don't have Eddie Hearn, so you can make video after video. We need to talk to Eddie Hearn. He's a coward. Conor, Eddie, Conor, every second. You don't have that now. Now you have to look at the practice of the British Boxing Board of Control. Because it's coming out, how the information is coming out so slow. All we keep hearing is from the board, oh, we didn't hear about it until yesterday. Promoters, we didn't hear about it until yesterday. Unacceptable. Dirty boxers are going in the ring with boxers who haven't got a clue what their opponents have been taking because of confidentiality and because of passing the buck between the board, UCAD and the promoters. And this is what I was telling you was inevitable.